Hello, everyone, and welcome. Let me get this transitioned over here for you. 1 second. And here I am. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing okay. Impromptu severe weather coverage in place because we do have severe thunderstorms approaching Metro Baltimore right now. First things first, let's talk about the outlook for today. If I can get this to go, there we go. Slight risk for everybody in the yellow, which includes a majority of the state, all of central and southern Maryland, most of the eastern shore, most of western Maryland. The far exceptions being the mountains and the lower Delmarva. Even then, it's a marginal risk. And I think back west, you're starting to clear now, at least for the afternoon. So you're just finally starting to get out that severe weather threat. And we'll have nice weather after this to go around, especially as we head into the 4th of July weekend, but we'll talk about that down the line. Here we go with this current onslaught of storms as now approaching Metro Baltimore. We do have severe thunderstorm warnings in place for, what would that be, eastern Montgomery County, most of PG County, western Anne Arundel County, southwestern Baltimore County, western Baltimore City. These will go until 4 o'clock for the northern half, which does include Howard County, the west side of the city of Baltimore, and until that'd be 4:45. No, I'm sorry, 4:15 for the southern half down in PG County and a good chunk of Anne Arundel County as well. Let me turn on my weather radio if I have battery. I hope to God I do. Yes, I do. I'll put this on alert. That way we will know when warnings are issued. Also, we do have the notifications up here on the screen. The ticker's running. You will see all the different warnings, all the different situations that we have right now in terms of severe thunderstorms and flash flooding. There is flood warnings, or flash flood warnings for that matter, pardon me, that are in place for southern Montgomery County, northwestern PG County. That does go back into Fairfax County, Virginia. That will go until, I believe, 6 o'clock. Yep, so just be mindful of that. We've had a lot of rain in the northern half of the Capital Beltway. So for those in close in on the Maryland side of the DC Metro, the northern half specifically, you want to be mindful of that. I wouldn't be surprised if more flood warnings come out down the line because this is going to dump a lot of rain in a short amount of time. Pardon me. So let me take you forward with this. And we'll go here. Let's cut it over. And I will load up the warnings. So this severe thunderstorm warning here for southern Baltimore City, western Anne Arundel, southeastern Howard, southeastern Montgomery, northwestern Calvert, southern Baltimore, Prince George's counties in Maryland, and then also Arlington County, East Central Fairfax County, and the city of Alexandria in Northern Virginia goes until 4:15. This big warning, and I think they just shaved off a good chunk of it as well. Let's go to the latest. So this is the latest wording on that first warning to the south. So the severe thunderstorm warning were actually, no, what? Come on. Okay, this is the one. It does also include southeastern Carroll County, and by that I mean Eldersburg and points to about the Liberty Reservoir. That's it. So this is until 4 o'clock. At 3:14, a severe thunderstorm was located near Columbia, moving northeast at 20 miles per hour. This is the one right here that is right over Ellicott City and Columbia at this moment. As a matter of fact, I got a camera in Columbia that I could probably take. Hang on. Cameras, Metro. Lake Kittamakundi is going to have a good view at this. I'm going to pull this up here in a second, so hang tight. Let's do this one. Okay, now we got a good view. So give me 1 second. on. Actually, I can't. Yeah, wait for it is taking my frames. Yeah, I can't. I'm gonna have to wait on that because my computer's just now starting to get a charge. Um, yeah, it's starting to rumble thunder here. This is gonna get real interesting real fast in these storms. So it is. I can't pull up the Columbia cam right now, but just know it is raining fairly heavily right now in the city of Columbia on the Lake Kittamaqundi lakefront cam. There is some lightning there, and that's what's heading in our direction here in the city of Baltimore. Do be mindful of that. And then we have the southern half east here in PG County. I'm gonna try to pull up the information on that real quick. Um, this one, Calvert County. Yeah, this is this the one right here? I don't know if you said 20 miles per hour. Okay, this was the one. This was located over American University or near Bethesda at around 318. It's 344 now. So these storms have progressed, and these are moving about 20. So Thurgood Marshall International, Glen Burnie, Odenton, to Bowie, down to really Upper Marlboro, Kettering, Suitland, right by the Andrews base, getting towards the Calvert County and Arundel County line with this storm here, Tracy's Landing. That's where you could expect 60-mile-per-hour winds with these. Hail's not going to be a big threat today. I can show you this real quick. Um, this is the hail swath over the last 30 minutes. You can see it's not impressive. I mean, if we're looking for 1 inch hail, we're looking for reds. All I'm seeing right now is some yellows and a little bit of oranges. So what that tells me is the hail threat with this right now is not particularly great. Let me also look at the rotation tracks as well because I would be very interested to see how that may play out with the wind threat that we are seeing here this afternoon. There's the last 30 minutes. There's that storm that caused all the problems in the East Metro that's now up into Cecil County and out towards Newcastle County, Delaware now. That had some wind with it, and we could see there's been some form of rotation in the last hour with some of these storms, but the rotation tracks are not too great. That just tells me that there's a lot more straight line wind. And even then, straight line wind that pushes out, that could do some damage, substantial damage as well. So do not let your guard down with these storms. Uh, this is moving into the metro now. I'm going to get in closer so you can see a lot of the more populated areas that are under the gun. Ellicott City, Columbia, Woodlawn, Granite, into Pikesville we go. Holbrook, Owings Mills, Arbutus. It is really the west side of the Beltway that's going to be under the gun here in very short order. Right now in Columbia, now into Ellicott City with this latest scan, down to Waterloo and Jessup, Savage, Laurel, getting into Greenbelt. You got some of the heaviest rain, strongest winds, and some lightning going on right now. And I just got a new update. This is just an update to the Okay, that's an update to the southern warning here. And let me pull up the bulletin information for you on that. Hang on 1 second. That is the most southern of the two warnings right now. Let me pull up the information. This just came off the wire.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
So there we are. This is the severe thunderstorm warning down in PG County and Arundel County as well. Um, Southeastern Howard County with this particular line. And this joint warning, they're all getting updated essentially at the same time. 60-mile-per-hour winds are still the threat with this. They're just shaving off different areas. So Montgomery County, essentially, you're clear from most of this, with the exception of Laytonsville to Flint Ridge to Brookville and the Triadelphia Reservoir. You're mostly clear from this thunderstorm here. Now, there's a secondary line in Loudoun County down to Fauquier County, getting down into portions of I want to say that's Greene County, but actually, maybe Rappahannock. Don't take my word for it. I'm gonna get into for Washington here, and yeah, that is Rappahannock County. I got it right.
New information.
Okay,
This severe thunderstorm warning has been
and there's the update down to Rappahannock County, getting now ready to move it to Madison County as well. That's going to be heading into your direction here, and that will be the secondary line that we have to contend with. We do have more storms up, by the way. Harford County, really along and north of 23, Forest Hill to Jarrettsville, north of Bel Air. Some scattered thunderstorms right now in the Hereford zone, getting towards the Mason-Dixon line, getting up into portions of York County, PA. One storm over the Susquehanna River right now between York County and Lancaster County. That's going to be moving into the southern Lancaster, Little Britain, Oxford. They had a lot of rain in Lancaster County over the last several days. They had a flash flood emergency 2 nights ago in northern Lancaster County because of all the rain that fell. It's been bad. We got storms up in Harrisburg and Lebanon, heading up towards Pottsville, and eventually going to move into the city of Reading, Pennsylvania, with in short order there. If there is anybody that somehow views this up there towards the Susquehanna and Lehigh valleys. There's a special marine warning for these thunderstorms here in the East Metro, over the bay, getting into Kent County here. This is really Edgemere, just east of Dundalk. This is the far southeastern portions of Baltimore County with this. Hanging into Tolchester Beach now, Kennard's Point, Still Pond, Butlertown. You're going to get on some heavy rain. Not severe right now, but it's moving in fast. Here comes these storms into the city right now. Very, very strong. I would imagine that most people are now aware of this, and they are probably trying to get indoors now with this particular complex that is moving in with some heavy rain, with some lightning as well. And that's a special marine warning as well that just came through. So, tracking this now into portions of southern PG County, western Anne Arundel County. This is going to get strong here real fast. I'm telling you, if you're not indoors, you should be now, because this is going to be pulling up on you very shortly, if not already there. Let me take a look outside real quick, and I can tell you what's going on. So we do have some rain here outside where I'm located. I'm on the west side, but it's going to pick up here shortly. The worst of this appears to be on the south end, and it's right over CCBC. It's right over UMBC, right over Charlestown Senior Living. You're going to get on some real heavy rain, some really nasty thunderstorms here. Right from now, basically through, let's say, the bottom of the hour. This is going to pick up in intensity here, only for you in Arbutus and Brooklyn Park and Linthicum. Get prepared, because this rain is going to be moving in very, very quickly, and it will be very intense at times. I could do a quick look at what you can expect. 1 to 2 inches an hour is rather substantial in terms of rainfall. So understand, this will drop a good chunk of rain in a very short amount of time, and flash flooding will also be a concern. Some places could pick up, let's say, up to 3 inches an hour in terms of rainfall, how hard it's falling. But that 3 inches an hour, since it may be 20, 30 minutes, you may get an inch and a half at the most. But that's on the extreme end of things. I think most places will pick up a good half an inch of rain, if not around 3/4 with this, in the most intense areas, at least for now. Could there be more locally? Of course, but that's just a general average. Some more storms back up into Carroll County, Eldersburg to Sykesville, Gamber to Finksburg to Upperco, getting ready to move into Reisterstown. This is a non-severe portion of that line, but still, gusty winds, heavy rain, can be expected with those. Um, Let me get down into street level here as we head into the city. Um, Goodness. A big rumble of thunder here locally, so hang on. Yeah. These storms are electric today. That will give you pause for sure. But we do have more storms coming in for the west. Be mindful that these will only pick up in intensity over the next few minutes. Getting now into the metro, the heart of the metro here, the city itself, Irvington, the Moral Park, to Edmonton Village, Dickeyville, Dorchester. Getting ready to move to Park Heights now. It's raining heavily in downtown Baltimore at this very moment as a new portion of the line is starting to pop up. And these sometimes will be spontaneous pop ups that will congeal with the line. They'll start out ahead, but they'll congeal with the line as it moves forward. So there it is. Right over downtown Baltimore did that. And with that urban heating, I'm not surprised that it happened that way. Now, is this warning going to be extended? We'll have to wait and see. It could. It very much could, but we'll have to watch and wait for that. I think this southern half of the line is kind of congealing into a weaker state. You can see as it moved east of DC, it really started to lose some of its mustard. So it's now really consolidated from about Mitchellville, Fairwood, Bowie, up to about Ellicott City in terms of the most intense stuff. Odenton, especially, Severn, Crofton, Millersville, that's where it's going to be the heaviest. But nonetheless, you're going to get some pretty good thunderstorms here in Metro Baltimore proper. It may be just below severe limits, if that, but nonetheless, you will notice it. Make no mistake about it. We do have more scattered thunderstorms. We do have a separate line, as I mentioned earlier, that goes from about the Potomac River and Falls of Rough, I want to say, to about Ashburn, to Leesburg, all the way down to Harrisonburg. And then we got some scattered storms starting to fire off here in southern Calvert County, southern St. Mary's County as well. Those could become its own problem down the line because this is an area of the atmosphere that hasn't really been used up at all this afternoon. So, as another thing to consider, this line here that's moving into Kent County is trying to strengthen a little bit. It's just becoming a mess of showers and thunderstorms right now across most of the central and northern regions of our state this afternoon, and now getting into the southern portions as well. Some lighter rain on a secondary line behind that line that we talked about near 81. This is going to be around Cumberland to Romney to Petersburg. So for those of you in Hampshire County, Morgan County, Berkeley, Jefferson, you got to get in on a little bit more rain. Got some heavier showers right now in Hardy County, Mineral County, getting into portions of western Hampshire County as well. And also another heavy thunderstorm in Washington County that's moving up into Franklin as well. So a lot going on, but that's the general gist of things in terms of where we are. I'm going to see if I can pull up a cam without my stream slowing down. I want to pull up downtown. I'm going to try the harbor cam first. I'm going to try the camera at the aquarium to see what's going on there. If it doesn't have a good look, I'm going to try the 100 light here downtown and see what that's showing. No, the contrast on that is terrible in downtown. So I'm going to try 100 light. This is the one high above in downtown. It overlooks the harbor and it kind of swivels around to the stadiums. And I think all right, here we are. So the camera that you see here on the bottom right, that is the camera above 100 light in downtown Baltimore as these storms are progressing in. Um, some moderate rain right now with some lightning in Pikesville and Owings Mills. So definitely still want to be indoors in those areas on the northwest side. We got some more heavy rain towards Eldersburg at Sykesville and Dayton on the back end that we have to contend with as well. So rain totals may pick up, but that's a view. You can see the darkening skies reflected on the water there of the harbor in downtown as this is progressing in. Special marine warning, by the way. If you're on the water, get off the water. Basically, for the Susquehanna down to the capital city, I would really say just in general today, you might want to start getting to safe harbor because it's gonna get real dicey, especially down here in the southern half of the bay here in Maryland. We already have some storms firing off in Calvert County, St. Mary's County that are going to be an issue. So do bear that in mind. But that's the view in downtown at 100 Light. I'm gonna try to pull up a different cam here. Let's do. This is gonna be interesting. Fort McHenry, I think, could be interesting if they have good enough contrast. Yes, we can. There we go. So that's the view from Fort McHenry right now. Looking into the rain shaft here, you can see how it goes from like this gold tint to like this gray tint on the right side, right by the flagpole.
New information. This
That's
severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
update to the severe thunderstorm warning. It just got dropped. I think it just got dropped. I'm almost positive it just got dropped. Um, Calvert County got dropped. Yep, it's the warning's been dropped right now for the metro in terms of anything severe. But I will say this. This is a storm to respect because heavy rain, lightning, you may get some pea-sized hail out of this at the absolute most, but still, this is not a storm that you want to just fool around with. We had some more activity really filling in the Susquehanna Valley north of the Mason-Dixon. That's going to be a problem for them. Um, this line in West Virginia is starting to pick up a little bit of steam. So is this one in Northern Virginia. So we may have a little bit of an evening ahead of us. More storms up towards Philly. But that's essentially it for right now. That's what we got. Just these thunderstorms here in the city of Baltimore. Let me pull up that downtown Skycam again. Because I'm willing to bet it's picking up business in downtown right now. There it is. Yeah, definitely. The rain, you can see it coming off the lights at M&T Bank. It is heavy in downtown Baltimore right now. Make no mistake about it. That is a view from 100 Light, and now we're pointing back towards Camden. They're on the road this week. The Orioles are. I believe they're in Texas for a little bit of a stand, and then they're on the road. I believe the rest of the week. Let me just verify that with a schedule, just in case we have anything there, and also it helps me with my forecast for this week. Yeah, they're in Atlanta this weekend, so they're on the road. But the rain, you can see it on the raindrops in the lenses there. It is picking up steam. It is intensifying. It's becoming more of a situation where it's not ideal to drive right now in the city. You can see the traffic there, right by the 95, 395 junction there, is starting to slow down. It's picking up real good, and we might have a little bit of hail right now on the west side of downtown. We're very near near Sourbow and Sandtown, Winchester. I'm trying to get on some of these Franklin Square, so right by the hospital there, Union Square, Carrollton Ridge. That's gonna be heading towards shock trauma. in not too long. Goodness. Wait. You could see like the heavy rain wall that's moving in. You could see, look at the right side of the camera by the sky, by the horizon. You could see the heavy rain, the wall of water that's pushing in. This is going to take down visibility big time. So, again, not recommended that you be driving right now because this is going to be very treacherous for you to even commute in, at least for the next half hour. Where is this heading next? It is Heritage Crossing. It is Seton Hill. It is the Walters Art Museum.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
All right, I gotta go. Okay, they just issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. It does include the city, southwestern Baltimore County, eastern Baltimore County on the other side, and then northern Anne Arundel County. That will go until. That's gonna pop up here soon. .30. At 4:02, a severe thunderstorm was located over Southgate or near Severn, moving east at 30 miles per hour. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are the main threat with this complex. And the visibility, as you can see in downtown, is greatly, greatly decreased by all the heavy rain that's falling. Let me look at the Mesonet. Pardon me. Mesonet, I'm going to look at the last hour's worth of rainfall. It is bad here in the city. Pardon me. We have picked up, goodness, Clarksville, over an inch of rain in the last hour in Clarksville alone. That's substantial. That is substantial. The station, the Maryland Mesonet station in Clarksville, over an inch of the rain in just the last hour alone, 1.03 to be exact. Is our camera in downtown out? Goodness. The heavy rain that's falling in downtown Baltimore across the entire metro. I mean, you could usually see the harbor or M&T Bank or Camden Yards with this view, and I can't tell where we are. I can't tell where we are. This might be Camden, but I don't take my word for it. I can't see anything. I think that was Camden because now swiveling back around to the harbor, it is pouring here in the city. It, goodness. As I said, blinding rains, torrential rains. It's going to be very, very, very tough to traverse and commute while this is ongoing. Mm-mm-mm. Other locations that picked up rain. I mean, this is Lay Hill, 76 hundredths of an inch of rain in Lay Hill. And that's in Montgomery County. Let me get in tight. I can find Lay Hill here on this map. Where are you, Lay Hill? I'm not even in the right location. Sorry. Lay Hill. There's Lay Hill. Right here. And 76 hundredths of an inch in the last hour there in Lay Hill, Montgomery County. That's substantial. That is rather substantial there. Um, since midnight, I want to see what we've had so far. About the same stuff. I mean, out in Benninger, Garrett County, 42 hundredths of an inch of rain since midnight there. And notice the temperatures are cooling off. I mean, in Washington County right now in Keysville it's 75 on the Mesonet. In Thurmont it's 77. It's 72 in Clarksville. It is 80 at Lake Montebello. In Townsend it is 81 as these showers and storms are starting to move through. You notice ahead of the line though, we are still in the upper 80s, lower 90s. I mean, I could just tell you right now, Stevensville is at 88. It's 89 in Y Mills. It is 91 in Cambridge. It is 90 in Princess Sand. It is 91 in Salisbury. There is a lot of atmospheric juice to work with here in the eastern part of the state that has not been affected by any storms whatsoever so far. But, man, things are going to get real dicey real fast. I mean, let me just look at the Lake Montebello station here because I'm willing to bet that temperature started tanking once these storms are in. I mean, it's 79 now at Lake Montebello. That's right by Merville High, just so you know. Earlier this afternoon, it was 91. It was 91 at 1 o'clock. And as these storms start to approach, I mean, we went from 90s to the mid 80s as these storms start taking some of the energy. And now, since these storms have started rolling in, our temperature is tanked now into the 70s at Lake Montebello, the upper 70s at least, from 91 earlier this afternoon. So, how things can change in a short amount of time. That's Maryland weather. That's summer in Maryland for you. And that's how things go with these storms. And just the heat and humidity that these storms can run off of. And we have a favorable environment here still, south and east of 95, at least up to the US 50 and the US 301 corridors for some really strong thunderstorms here. So for those in Kent County and Queen Anne's County, Talbot County, even at the Dorchester, you're going to want to watch out. You are under it's a slight risk for severe weather today. Bear that in mind. So you'd have more favorable environments for severe weather. Down the Delmarva, you're under a marginal, but here's the deal. You got a lot of atmospheric juice to work with as well. Could I rule out some severe weather here? No. Is it just a lower risk to some degree? Yes, but treat this like you would a slight risk right now, at least within this given setup. Let me go back to the radar. And actually, let me go back to composite because I'm willing to bet there's the wind tracks. We might have had some damaging winds from Columbia to South Baltimore City, Arbutus to Lansdowne to the Highlands, Halethorpe. Let me get in on the hail tracks as well. Probability of severe hail is almost non-existent with this, just so you know. And then the estimated size, we're not talking more than, let's say, nickel-sized hail. So do also bear that in mind that hail won't be the biggest threat. You may get pea to penny, maybe as large as nickel-sized hail, but you're not going to get quarters or larger with this. This is not going to be severe weather criteria hail. It's just the winds are going to be the problem. Speaking of winds, I don't know how I've not checked velocity, and I'm sorry for that. Let me check our wind. Yeah, we got some really strong winds. I'm willing to bet they up this warning. Possible. Okay, severe thunderstorm warning, tornado possible in Anne Arundel County. And I see where they're talking about the concern. This would be over towards the Severna Park area, just north of the city of Annapolis, right over towards Arnold, along Highway 2. This is the concern area for potential. Let me make sure I got this right. I'm sorry. For a potential rotation right over Anne Arundel Community College. Man, that is there. That's something you have to watch for. If you're in Cape St. Clair, we have to monitor this because that could become something down the line if things continue. Now, granted, as I showed earlier with the outlooks, tornado threat was essentially non-existent for most of us. Although I will say the atmospheric environment does give us a little concern in terms of maybe a quick spin up EF0. But that's starting to weaken now as it's approached the Magothy River. So that does help our cause in that regard. But man, these winds are going to be strong. Let me just look at the the queries here. I'm getting 50-mile-per-hour winds here at the pinks over Pasadena, Riviera Beach, heading to Pasadena Beach right now. Let me check if there are any traffic cams.
A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
A little late on the notification from the system, but nonetheless, there is your severe thunderstorm warning for northern Anne Arundel County as well. But let me do this. I'm gonna see if I can find any traffic cams because we might have some really intense winds ongoing in northern AA County at this very moment.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
All right, we got the updated. I'm gonna take off this Fort McHenry cam and then I'm gonna remove the downtown sky cam here, just so I could try to find a different one for you more efficiently. So that would be over towards Pasadena. The problem is how many cameras are around Pasadena. Not, we may have a few, but not the most. Okay, we may have something here. 100 west at 10 north. That might be out. That's the power outages. Let me take a look here. Arnold. But we have some very heavy rain and some damaging winds right now, potentially ongoing in Pasadena with these storms. I'm gonna be behind those storms. Yeah, the cameras that are there are behind those storms right now. I think they're just getting the camera rebooted there on one of these views. How about that? That must have been some really intense wind that was going through Pasadena for that to happen. Edgemere. I want to take Edgemere real quick because there's a camera in Edgemere that might get some of this. This is Maryland. This is 695 at North Point Boulevard. This is right by where the old Bay Bridge used to stand. I'm looking at that real quick before I make a decision on which one to view. The Peninsula Expressway, that one's out because of probably because of that collapse that happened. Whoa. All right. I'm gonna take this one real quick. This is 695 south of Broning. This is right by where the old Bay Bridge used to stand. Heavy rain that is ongoing right now. Some wind. That's probably some of those damaging winds that are going through right now in Edgemere, hanging to Sparrows Point and Fort Howard. And you can see this big rig here is slowing down a good bit because of the heavy rain, the blinding rain, the wind that's ongoing. It's not pretty right now. And whoa, this car gotta slow down. This car's gotta slow down because it's coming right up on it. Oh my. That is how dangerous these conditions are. It gets to blinding levels of rainfall, and you're driving that fast behind somebody in those conditions, it could end a disaster very, very easily. So please take it easy if you're going to have to be driving on these roadways because, man, one bad mistake could really put you in the world of peril. As I bring you back to the reflectivity mode and show you what's ongoing. If you're in the West Metro, you're generally clear from this thunderstorm. Pikesville to down the Beltway to Catonsville, you're good from this particular storm. There may be some heavier activity towards Ellicott City that may get into Catonsville and Arbutus and the Highlands again with another round. But this one doesn't look too impressive. And the line that was back west is starting to weaken a lot because of the atmospheric energy that was used up from this particular storm right here that is now approaching the western shore. If you're along the shoreline areas of Baltimore County down to Anne Arundel County, you're either experiencing storms or you're about to experience them shortly. Be indoors, away from windows. This is going to be a very, very treacherous 30 to 45 minutes for you. Middle River, you're about to get in on this. And then let me just pull up velocity again. And this is not storm relative, so it may not pick up on something here, but whoa! before I talk about a potential rotation concern, man, Edgemere, you got some nasty wind going through right now. I'm gonna take the North Point Boulevard camera again. That was that same wind that we saw earlier on the Broning cam. This is 695 at 151 North Point Boulevard. It is strong. The wind is blowing out there. I tell you what, those yellows. Now we're getting into that severe range, 50 to 60 miles per hour, if not stronger. Yeah, I'm getting that. I'm getting 60. I'm seeing 63 miles per hour within this while I'm scanning. So this could be potentially significant damaging winds right now heading into North Point State Park, right by Todd Farmhouse, Lodge Forest, over towards Swan Point and Ramona Beach. These areas of Baltimore County, right by the Back River, you want to be indoors and especially away from windows as this is moving through, because you may have 60 mile per hour winds, if not a little bit stronger than that, moving in right now based on just radar evidence. It's one thing to have a warning there and velocities may not pick up quite to the 60 mile per hour criteria, but when you have actual winds elevated that are reaching those criteria that you could see with some level of atmospheric to ground truth, that's cause for concern. So if you're in Baltimore County right now, along the Back River, Edgemere to Swan Point to North Point State Park, you have to be indoors away from windows, because this is a part of the line that's intensifying very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if the Weather Service in Mount Holly starts paying attention to this for Kent County and saying, hey, we may up this to 60, perhaps 70 mile per hour winds at some point down the line if this trend continues. Man, that is gnarly. And the reason I say Mount Holly is because the jurisdictions here in the Eastern Shore kind of get a little convoluted. Cecil County belongs to Sterling, which is the Baltimore-Washington office. So I'll draw this out here real quick. So Cecil County is Sterling. Kent, Queen Anne's, Caroline, Talbot, Dorchester. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Kent, Queen Anne's, Caroline, Talbot counties only belong to Mount Holly. That's a terrible M. I'm sorry. And that's like the Philadelphia office essentially. And then the office down in Wakefield, Virginia, Norfolk, Richmond, covers Dorchester County, Wycomico, Somerset, Worcester, the remaining of the Delmarva. So it gets a little bit convoluted in terms of jurisdiction, but I'm willing to bet the Weather Service of Mount Holly start trying to monitor this because this is going to be coming in soon. Although they do have their own storms right now getting into the Trenton area and moving eastward. So that's something to watch for. But here, some strong thunderstorms moving through. Now, this rotation concern that I was going to get to before I saw these winds. On the northern half of the line, there's a concern for what we call bookend vortexes. And essentially, what is happening is we're getting the inflow from the east, and I gotta redraw this now, and it's becoming a little bit more defined, so I'm a little bit more concerned. We get this inflow coming in from the east and the south. At the same time, though, we're getting air wrapping back around from the northern flank of the storm back into the back from the west into the very back of the storm, and we can get wind shear that pops up and creates rotation. So right over Rosedale and Essex and Rossville, there is a concern for a potential bookend vortex, at least from what I'm seeing right now on reflectivity. Now, velocity will be the tell-all of this. On velocity right now, I don't see anything too crazy on base. Let me look at storm relative and see what's going on. If you can make out, there's very faint green against very faint red right over Queens Purchase and Rockaway Beach. Does this match up with our concern on reflectivity? The answer to that is yes. So for those of you in Bowley's Quarters and Rockaway Beach, I want you to be aware of this. Middle River, Bowley's Quarters up to the Bird River, Gunpowder Falls State Park, you want to be aware of this because eventually this is going to be approaching you, and this line's starting to bow out. This is serious stuff. Man, that is man, that is bad, bad, bad. Let me take this camera off real quick, and what I'm gonna do is this. I'm gonna readjust, and I want to get back south here real quick with these other storms. We may have a separate line starting to form that's going to impact Delmarva here within the next 2 hours. We already have storms lining up from in the scattered nature, but still forming a line from Dorchester County into St. Mary's County, down into portions of, I want to say, that's like Richmond County, I believe, or that might be North Cumberland County in Virginia. I can't remember for the life of me. But these storms essentially stretching back down to Tappahannock and east of Richmond. This is starting to form a line. This is going to be a threat for the Delmarva here within the next 2 hours. So for those in Ocean City and Princess Anne, Pocomoke, Snow Hill, Ocean City, you're going to want to pay attention, because that might be your round for thunderstorms. And then we got more storms back to the west that are still ongoing, and there's even more starting to pop up here in Montgomery County again. So suffice to say, this is going to be a mess for the next several hours, and we have to monitor this very, very, very closely. Right now, this is what we have in terms of the warnings. Just a severe thunderstorm warning in the East Metro, and then we got flash flood warnings that were just issued. That's going to go until, how would that be, 6:30? I have to verify that time here. Sometimes with this system, it's a little bit more vague in terms of the timing and not exact in terms of how much time is on that warning. 7:30, I'm sorry. So this warning will go until 7:30 tonight.
New information. This flash flood warning has been updated.
There's that flash flood warning. Actually, no, that might be the wrong one. I'm sorry, that is the wrong one. That's way down. That is the southern of the flash flood warnings right now towards Elkton and Luray. Rappahannock County's involved with that as well. The one that was just put in place and updated for us, that's gonna go until 6 o'clock. Yeah, I just pulled up on a different one. I pulled it up on a different site here, but this flash flood warning goes until 6 for southern Montgomery County into the northern side of DC for all the heavy rain that's fallen over the last hour to 2 hours here, and is continuing to fall now. This is becoming a big mess of rain and thunderstorms. This is all part of a cold front that's moving through. The silver lining is, once we get this out of here, our unsettled patterns really slows up for the next 5+ days. After we get this out of here, we have a really great 4th of July on tap, but we got to get through this here this afternoon and into tonight as well. That line solidifying to the south. We got these storms here. Capital City's getting slammed with thunderstorms now. If you're in Annapolis, heavy rain is falling at this very moment. Some gusty winds. You're technically just on the edge of the severe thunderstorm warning as well. But still, you want to treat this with respect. Kent County, I don't know how they haven't issued a warning yet for Kent County, but Weather Service and Mount Holly might need to, based on what this storm has been showing signs of doing. Let me look at any storm reports here across the state. Wow. Marine thunderstorm wind 1 mile east southeast of Bully's Quarters of 51 miles per hour. That is strong. We also have wind damage in Howard County, some wind damage in Frederick County as well. Let me pull this up real quick. Storm reports. But we do have wind damage reports coming out of Howard County, Baltimore County near Bentley Springs. We had some trees down as well. Harford County near Falston, Kingsville, we've had damage. So understand, this has done wind damage. This has had a history of doing wind damage across Metro Baltimore and back to the west. So this is cause for concern. I'm just trying to get these storm reports loaded here, so forgive me. Because the one I have, the database is there, it's just I don't have quite the details I would probably want to have. I'm finally starting to get in on. And there's a new flash flood warning that does include Metro Baltimore. Forgive me if I've been silent for the last few minutes. I've been trying to get these storm reports loaded, but it's been something. Um, there we go. I got some wind reports coming out. Old Frederick Road in Sykesville. Tree fell onto car near the 13,000th block of Old Frederick Road in Sykesville. That was around 2:20 this afternoon. Um, Let me just get some of these here. Um,
A new flash flood
there's
warning
that flash
has been
flood
issued.
warning that's just been issued. Um, Also, I'm just looking at anything we've had here. Uh, Flash flooding in Harford County. Philadelphia Road has been closed near Edgewood due to flooding. Um, Pleasant Furnace, Furnace in Harford County. Bella Road at Old Joppa Road closed due to flooding. Flash flooding down in Bel Air. Hooker's Mill Road at Calvary Road closed. As I mentioned, we're gonna have a lot of rain and a lot of problems here. Wait, that was from earlier to that was from last night, I believe, as the storms went through. Forgive me. So that's from last night. Um, me just pull up the most recent ones. All right, so that's the last night's flooding in Bel Air. I'm sorry. So far this afternoon, we've had 47-mile-per-hour wind gusts near Bully's Quarters on a marine sensor. Near Edgemere, 4 miles west of Edgemere, there was a 40-mile-per-hour wind gust. There was thunderstorm wind damage in Brunswick, thunderstorm wind damage near West Friendship. Near Bully's Quarters, there was a marine thunderstorm wind of 44 miles per hour and a 51-mile-per-hour gust near Bully's Quarters here. 1 mile east southeast of Bully's Quarters. That's the sensor ANZ 531, 44 knots, 51 miles per hour. So strong stuff there. I want to look at West Virginia and see what's happened in Jefferson County. Water over some road south of Harper's Ferry. That's near Millville, where they had that report earlier this afternoon. Bunch of problems near Charleston. This is Cowan County. That's the Charleston area. Hardy County, there was some thunderstorm wind damage earlier. And that's the most I can probably think of in terms of West Virginia counties at this point. Near Pumphrey in Anne Arundel County, we have flooding issues apparently reported here. I'll have to get more detail on that here in a second. But there's been flooding issues in Anne Arundel County now due to this. So this is becoming more serious of a situation in terms of our flooding here across central Maryland this afternoon. Let me search anything in Virginia that I could probably know. Rockingham County. We have flooding issues there. Fairfax County, there's been flooding issues. And then there's thunderstorm wind damage reports across Arlington County, Fairfax County, Prince William County, the city of Alexandria, Page County, Culpeper County has had some wind damage reports as well. So this is strong stuff. And the warning just got dropped for the northern half as it's moved out across the bay and into county now. But still in the state of Annapolis, still have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in place, pardon me, until 4:45. More storms are starting to fire up here from Grottoes through the Shenandoah National Park up to Culpeper and getting into Warrenton. Man, this has been an afternoon in terms of our storms and the rainfall. I will tell you that. And places that don't need more rain, getting more rain again.
This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
Yeah, they just updated that one. That's the one I just mentioned. But more places that don't need more rain, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. They had flash flood emergencies 2 nights ago, and now they're getting in on more rain from Ephrata to Lancaster to E-Town. This is starting to become a little bit more of a situation where this may become serious very, very quickly. So if you have anybody that you know up here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, Elizabethtown, Ephrata, I believe it's pronounced. Forgive me if I butchered that. Manheim, the Lidditz, Lancaster City. You probably want to get in touch with them and make sure they're doing okay, because they have some heavy thunderstorms and they've been through some big time flooding concerns over the last couple of days. More storms here in Reading, Berks County, getting into I believe that would be Lehigh County as well. Don't take my word for it. Yeah, Berks County, Lehigh County, Chester County. Getting on some storms there up that way. So if you have any loved ones up that way, that's what they're dealing with. Some storms in Philadelphia, just crossing the Delaware River right now into South Jersey. So for those in Camden County, I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank. I should be knowing these counties here, because I kind of look all the time just to test myself, but. Gloucester. How did I get it? Gloucester County, Camden County, Gloucester County, into Burlington County, New Jersey. Salem County, New Jersey as well. We got some storms up that way. If you know anybody down that up that direction, some showers across Newcastle County getting into Kent County, Delaware, south of Smyrna, and Kent County, Maryland. You're about to get on some really heavy storms. I wouldn't be surprised if a warning comes out for you in short order. So do be mindful of that. But that is really the grand scheme of things right now. For the rest of the afternoon, severe thunderstorms are possible. Flooding will be one of the main concerns, along with damaging winds. So please be mindful if you have any plans this afternoon. Some heavy rain going from about Leesburg to Germantown, Damascus, up to about Erie, Eldersburg, into Westminster. Just some moderate pockets in between there into the Hereford zone. Um, Manchester, you're getting on some really good rain as well. West Manheim into Norrisville, Piattesville. But the big line right now is now east of Metro Baltimore, over the bay, getting ready to move into Kent County, Kent Island, Queen Anne's County, the Eastern Shore. And then we do have this line that's starting to form some nasty thunderstorms starting to roll through Dorchester County into Cambridge, Algonquin, down south towards Point Lookout, the far southern tip of St. Mary's County, and then back down into Central Virginia we go with that one. And then we got some more storms firing up across Montgomery County, northern PG County, and even more turning severe across portions of Virginia that I don't think quite have had much in the way of storms this afternoon, which is why they're firing off. Let me just look at the scan so that way we can verify that. But this is a portion of the area that's really been untouched this afternoon. Southern Maryland and the Delmarva and down into Central Virginia. There's not been a whole lot. A lot of the activity really has been along and north of US 50, along and north of 211 and I-66. As I pull up the loop here, I'll just drag it along. Yeah, a lot of these places earlier, there were some storms in Orange County, in Albemarle County as well. They're starting to get on some more, but it was really scattered activity earlier in the afternoon, getting closer to the 1 o'clock hour. There's been time to regroup for this next round of thunderstorms, and lo and behold, that's why they have big time thunderstorms all going right now. And there's a new severe thunderstorm. Oh, actually, no, that was just the loop lagging behind. I'm sorry, but that is where I'm gonna conclude for now. I'll hop on if needed again, but right now just be mindful of these storms producing winds in order of 40 to 60 miles per hour. If any hail whatsoever, it would be at best penny to nickel sized hail, predominantly pea sized hail if you do get this. But flash flooding and winds on the order of 40 to 60 miles per hour will be the primary concerns with any of these thunderstorms that move through this afternoon. Please be safe. Please be aware. I'm Jay Mitchell from 4NO WX.